It's time to ride it. 3, 2, 1, let's get it. Come on, pull up a chair.
Hello. Welcome. I am here. The last format I did this, it's the second best performing video that the Writer's Room has had so far. So, on behalf of me and I dare say Braden, thank you. I'm back again. Braden did not go away to get milk. Well, unless he decided to, and I'm uploading this to replace the podcast recording session. But for now, I'm just doing this because I want to. The topic of discussion is world building. Last week, well, we didn't do one of these last week. But last time we did one of these, we talked about characters. These topics can blend together a lot of the times. So you might find me repeating certain things. But it's all important. It's all good to know. And if you didn't see the last one, what is a character, then go check out What is a Character, Thinking Outside the Room with Cole James. Anyway. What is world building? It's not just the setting. Setting's a big part of it, though. Let's put a definition for setting here somewhere. So here. Wait, where? It's not just the setting. That's something I've heard people be like, "No, well, making a place isn't that hard," which isn't actually true. Building like a city is quite difficult, or it can be, depending on your genre. Especially like I would say sci-fi and fantasies. Making a city can be difficult because you're making up a lot more elements that don't exist in the real world. Whereas if you were to just put it in New York City, you're just remaking New York City. That's easy for some people, that's hard for some people, kind of just depends. But so, anyway, world building is also the rules of the world. I mean, that is the whole gist of world building, is it's the place that the story exists in, but it's the rules of the world as well. Any systems that are in place, any governments that are in place, what are the countries, how many people exist in this world, are the animals around? Yeah, are there zombies? Whatever. This is, in my opinion, one of the most important pieces of, I would say, books, movies, TV, video games. The news doesn't necessarily do world building, but they do have to, especially if it's like a written article, they do have to kind of, or at least a good journal would paint the picture of the world in your head. Meaning that they would describe whatever event they're covering in such detail that you could just see it without having to look at a picture. Pictures help, and a lot of them do use pictures, but a good journal would almost not need a picture because the words tell the story so well. That being said, it's an entirely different animal in the fictional world, and in certain cases of the based on a true story world. But you have to establish the logic of your world. You have to establish the places of your world. Let's bring in Braden and I's feature film. We have a world that is Earth. It is the real world. Our movie takes place in 1860s Texas. But where we differ is the continent of North and possibly South America. I'm trying to remember if we decided on that or not. We should if we haven't. But that entire hemisphere. Hemispheres north and south. Words are hard. Anyway, that entire side of the world is filled with monsters. We went and found different monsters from different cultures in America. We wanted to kind of populate it with... We wanted a Transylvania feel, but we wanted to populate a lot of it with American folklore, folktale monsters. The Uri was one. I believe that one was from more northern part of North America. But we've kind of had it to where we have these monsters migrating across America. They're in abundance. Like them and the humans are kind of trying to coexist. It's not a situation where, like with animals, typically the animals stay away from cities. In our case, the monsters will absolutely, depending on what their behavior is, will absolutely attack a town, and these people have to be ready for it. In the case of world building, well, you have to ask these questions. Do monsters talk? Do they hunt in packs? Are they solo? In the case of the Uri-Yulis, they have an entire almost town of their own with their own government. Now that government is being manipulated. That entire tribe of Uri-Yulis is being manipulated and forced into almost slavery, the way that we've kind of imagined it. Which is another part of world building, because then the town with John M.F. Mayer, we have, first of all, the town has their own government, but then they are utilizing the Uri-Yulis to protect their town and do hard labor, and abuse them also. The amount of world building just right there that I've said created an entire portion of our story. It was the entire first portion of Act 2 was going into this town, seeing that there was a problem with the Uri-Yulis, and then performing actions that we as the audience thought would solve the problem as we watched the protagonist kind of do these things, and it turns out that the twist is, they weren't the problem. It's one of those things where the world building backs up the story. Another thing world building has to do is it has to be relatable. Let's go back to New York City. If we're in New York City, and I've only been in New York a handful of times, I don't mean to offend anybody, but y'all walk a lot. Y'all drive a lot too, but when you're driving, you will not get to where you're going for another 3 days. Driving in New York is rough, so they walk a lot. So we need lots of pedestrians. I've seen a lot of construction in New York, so I think adding just layers of construction. Maybe there's a car accident somewhere, and it's two people, one of them's talking to cops, one of them's on the phone with their insurance, whatever. The more real the world feels, the more invested in our story that we can become. Especially if our story is about a world-ending threat. Then we're like, oh wow, these people have lives, families, and it's like there's more stakes to it. Things can happen. Of course, we're more attached to our characters, but even just a minuscule amount of world building can add to the stakes of it, because you're thinking about the characters, but you're also thinking about, oh man, well, that child's gonna die, With like Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man went and saw this dude who owned a sandwich shop, and that eventually got destroyed, and it's just like, oh man, that sucks. But that's part of world building, because he really didn't have anything to do with the story besides Spider-Man wanted a sandwich. But it brings Peter Parker down to Earth in terms of he's a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's helping out the little guy. That's kind of the thing. Because I think that shop eventually does get in trouble. But that's going to create more stakes. Because it's like, oh man, this is not good. So this is going to create relatability. And the other thing you want to do with your world building is you want to make sure that it feels like if you as an audience member were to crawl into this movie, video game, or book, you could live a life there. Like if we talk about, well, let's talk like Cyberpunk 2077. Night City is it's a futuristic cyberpunk world, but it's a world it's a world that's brutal, but you could go and you could run your own little like food stand if you really wanted to. I don't think there's a world where I would ever want to go live in Night City because it's just rough. But they developed it enough, and I'll be honest, Cyberpunk 2077 isn't my favorite game in the world, but they did do a lot of work in terms of creating that world, especially since they've updated it since launch. That's kind of the thing, is you become immersed. It feels like a real world, even if it's fictional and impossible in real life, at least as of now. I don't know, we might have spaceships or whatever in the shit in 200 years down the line, or now 200 years is that, yeah, surely not sooner. Somebody owes me money if I predict that correctly. I'll be long gone, but still, unless life expectancy changes. But it's good to have relatability, it's good to back up your story, and it's good to have rules. You need your world to have rules. If there are no rules, Fast and Furious, your characters can do anything, and it makes it feel like anything is possible, and it takes away from the stakes. It's good to establish what a character is capable of and not capable of. For instance, how high somebody can jump. And that can include protagonists, like anybody. And maybe that's different for the protagonist. The protagonist a lot of the time has special capabilities. Maybe they're more robotic, but the protagonist is usually more capable than a lot of the characters in the story. That's not always the case, but in at least in recent years, that's what I've been seeing. But I've also seen films where they may not, that they can't do it. They are not suited for this. This is, and it's almost watching a decline of a human being in a sense. But it's good to establish your rules and your systems in your world. How does your world work? Are people elected? Is it run by a dictator? Is there corruption in your systems and in your like economy? How do people act in this world? Do they like their government? Do they not like their government? Is it a utopia, dystopia? Is it a false utopia? Because there are false utopias where people are like, oh no, the world's perfect. But then in actuality, there's cracks that you can see throughout the movie, which is usually what a utopian-based movie does, is creates a false utopia. So these are very important things to think about. And usually in doing that process, I like to run it by somebody, because what makes sense to you may not make sense to somebody else, which isn't necessarily anybody's fault. It just means you need to go back and reevaluate, how do I make this make sense to other people? Because you're seeing it in your brain, you're able to perfectly visualize this, and like a painter, you have to take your paintbrush and you have to canvas out, you have to paint out your vision and how the world works. And sometimes your vision isn't the perfect vision, and that happens a lot. And so that's when you have to reevaluate stuff. You have to change things. You have to make it make sense. That's kind of our third major thing. The next thing with world building, you have to take a look at what you want your character to be like. Now, a character's personality, let's focus protagonists for a few minutes here. Let's say you need him to have a deep understanding of what it's like to not have anything. He's from a rough neighborhood, maybe. He didn't have money growing up, and so his outlook on life changes drastically because of how he grew up, versus if he lived in, I don't know, what, Beverly Hills. If he had a 3-story mansion that was $2.5 billion in Beverly Hills, he's gonna have a different outlook on life. I would bet money on that. I'd bet all my life savings on that, actually. It's important to set up your world based around how you need your character to be. If you need them to relate to people more if you need them to relate to people on a more emotional level, you need to adjust your world building and how they grew up to be that way. If we're in a futuristic world where maybe everybody's forced to talk to this robot therapist or something, maybe he's more in tune with how his emotions work, versus if there is maybe a more unfortunate person who can't afford to do that, but like the more rich society is forced to do that, then that character can go and help a different character in the rougher areas of this society that I've just kind of conjured up here. So that's going to depend on your story, and it's going to depend on your genre as well, because there's only so much you can do in certain genres. Because at least in most cases, I'm not saying it's impossible, because you can definitely cross like mix genres and have like a fantasy sci-fi. But if you want it to just be fantasy, you can't have a robot made with electronics and whatnot. If you have a robot that is maybe more magically powered, I could see that, but in a lot of cases, you're sticking to dragons, wizards, elves, orcs, whatever, goblins. And then if you're in sci-fi, you're laser guns, flying cars, spaceships, almost technology-based armor, I guess. So it's the genres can affect your world building as well. So I think that's gonna cover what I wanted to speak on. So let's recap. It can help shape your story. It can help create your logic. It can help shape your character. It's the whole foundation of a story. I've forgotten the second point I had, but I'm sure it's all wonderful. These aren't really scripted out. I'm just, again, sharing what I know about things, and it's always a conversation. If you disagree with me, you're more than welcome to. I'd actually encourage it. If you have a different point that you think is more valid, leave a comment. Let's talk about it. Let's see what we can come up with here. Because what I think is valid may be different in your eyes, and I'm always curious. I like talking about that sort of thing with people. So that's gonna wrap up what we got going on today. I know it's a bit shorter than some of the other ones, but I don't know. Get over it. I can only talk for so long on certain things sometimes. I don't know. Anyway, if you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike. Tell me why. That's always the rule. Braden and I have been beating that into y'all's heads since the first step. Well, first few episodes of the podcast. I don't think we even just bothered with like, dislike, and subscribe. So, but we've been talking about that for a long time. But maybe if you have a topic you want me to take a look at, cover. I have done research on the messaging and filmmaking. I have done research. I did do research on that, but there are things where I'm just kind of like, I just want to speak on this. So let me know your thoughts. If there's a topic you want me to look at, I'll take a look at it. If I don't know it, I'll research it. Whatever. And then if you find yourself coming back to the channel, whether it's for the podcast, for these videos, I know Braden's working on some solo kind of stuff on his own, and he already has a solo episode out. It's been a long time at this point, but check all our stuff out. But if you find yourself coming back to the channel on the regular, you don't want to search for us, hit that subscribe button. There's a notification bell. I think probably a good idea to do that, because then what's the point of subscribing if you... Although I guess it would just show up on your home feed, so I don't know. Whatever you want to do. Check out our social medias. We got Instagram, we got TikTok. The podcast is on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and stuff like that. We got YouTube shorts that are coming out every few days, I think, until we're caught up, which may not be ever. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Look forward to maybe having conversations. But I'll see you guys in the next thing that I'm in, whatever that is. Bye-bye!